are the poor in spirit, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the humble, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for the kingdom of heaven is theirs. You are blessed when they insult you and persecute you, and falsely say every kind of evil against you because of me. Be glad and rejoice, because your reward is great in heaven, for that is how they persecuted the prophets who were before you.
Hey New Life, we want to welcome you to our third installment of the video series over the Beatitudes, where we're looking at Christ's answer for our search for happiness. Last week, we were challenged to see the surprising connection between lamenting or mourning and the good life. This week, we're going to be focusing on humility. Think back to a time when you were humbled. Maybe it was a bad grade or a test, or a crucial mistake in a game. How did you feel? Jesus said happiness is found in humility. At first, that might be hard to believe. Humility can be difficult. But true humility doesn't call attention to itself, so it's not overly impressed by the sense of one's self-importance. It focuses away from itself toward others. Blessed are the humble, for they will inherit the earth. How would you define humility? The world has some less than flattering descriptions for a humble, gentle person. They may call them a wimp, a doormat, spineless, weak, even a pushover. But biblical humility, meekness, is not weakness, but rather refers to exercising God's strength under control. The Greeks would use this word to describe a horse that has been broken. So it's power under control. A humble person is a person who keeps their anger in check. They don't flaunt their power or constantly claim their rights. This is a person who puts others' interests before their own. Think about it. Jesus wasn't timid, shy, or weak. Yet he was the most humble man who ever lived. Why? Because he fully trusted in and placed himself under the glory, grace, love, and mission of his Father. You can take another example from the Bible, someone from the Old Testament. Moses, for example, he was considered the most humble man of his time. Now, Jesus didn't just command his disciples to be humble. He taught them by example. One of my favorite examples in the Bible was in John 13. In John 13, we have Jesus and his disciples in the upper room preparing themselves for Jesus' departure from this world. Without a word, Jesus got up from the table, poured water into a basin, and began to wash his disciples' feet. He came to Peter, who asked him, "Lord, you gonna wash my feet?" Jesus said, "What I'm doing you don't realize now, but afterward you will understand." Peter said, "You will never wash my feet." And Jesus continued saying, "If I don't wash your feet, you have no part of me." So Peter said, "Well, Lord, not only my feet, but wash my hands, wash my head." And Jesus said, "Well, you don't need a bath, just your feet." He then reclined again at the table and said, "Do you know what I have done for you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you're speaking right, since that is what I am. So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you also should do just as I've done for you." Why is this so important? Because Jesus, who was God in the flesh, lowered himself to the point of a servant, willing to wash his disciples' feet. You know, washing feet was considered a task of a household servant. The Lord himself was performing what the disciples would consider a basic task of a slave. But the humility of God is overwhelming. How could the Son of God wash the feet of the disciples? Because Jesus was willing to humble himself to give us an example that we too may learn to be humble. So, this is definitely a character trait we should all strive to achieve. And not only should we strive to be humble, Christ tells us that the humble receive a reward, for they will inherit the earth. You know, this beatitude parallels Psalm 37:11. But the humble will inherit the land and will enjoy abundant prosperity. This passage tells us that the humble are those who trust God and surrender to his authority even when they cannot make sense of their circumstances. But what does inherit the earth really mean? Simply, it means to gain citizenship and authority under God in the new heavens and new earth. Well, that's a little confusing. This may seem strange, but this is a beautiful promise to Jesus' disciples. Jesus is promising the humble that they will enjoy a great reward in the eternal kingdom. Now, this does imply that this will happen in the future, but there is some hope for the humble here in the present. God may put that individual in a position of influence, knowing that they can be trusted to handle authority with great integrity. So, what does God require of us? In Micah 6:8, it reads, "Mankind, he has told each of you what is good and what it is that the Lord requires of you, to act justly, to love faithfulness, and to walk humbly with your God." So we humble ourselves and allow him to lift us up. We want to thank each and every one of you for being so patient with us during this time. As we've learned to adapt and send these messages out to you, we're so thankful to each and every one of you for being so patient, being so kind, and continuing to participate in these messages with us. We ask you, if you have any questions, or if you have any complaints, if you have any tips on how to make these lessons better, go ahead and drop something in the comments below, or you can message one of us to let us know a little bit of how we can make these lessons better as we continue to adapt. Don't forget, below we also have a PDF that have all the discussion questions, and if you would like, at 7:15 tonight, you can go over to Instagram, where we're going to have an Instagram live, and you can ask us questions. We'll answer some of the questions from the PDF that we have below, and we want you to know, if you have any questions, go ahead and let us know. We'd love to answer them. We continue to pray and hope that these lessons are an encouragement to you. We love each and every one of you. Have a great week.